Welcome, everyone, to the Real Trekkies Cast, Episode 10. I am your host, Matrix Lord 212, and I'm with Daniel. What's up, Daniel?
Hey, people.
What's up, Mike?
Klingon lives matter.
Yeah, I guess. Or whatever. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, we both saw Star Trek Beyond, but Daniel didn't yet, but hopefully he's going to. Before I do my reaction, or should I do your reaction first? What do you think?
Well, I'd rather hear yours because I've got more of a negative opinion of it, so I'd rather kind of glom on the back end of this.
So going into it, again, the first time we got a trailer, I wasn't really crazy about the Star Trek Beyond trailer. It's coming off of the last movie, which I really hated. And mind you, don't get me wrong, I do not hate the cast and the crew.
Well, can I ask you something real quick? Can we maybe your cast, but can we maybe just volley back and forth as we go through this? Because you're probably going to hit a lot of points, and I'll end up forgetting some of them. So it's probably easier though.
Sure. So we're coming off of a movie that I really didn't like, Star Trek Into Darkness. You know, so this movie I said anything's got to be better than the last movie. I went into the movie thinking that I'm going to like it because it's not like the last crap movie that I saw. And basically, I really enjoyed it a lot. I really liked it a lot. I liked it better than the 2009 movie. You know, of the three, I feel this is of the Abrams three. I feel this is the better. But there's still some points that, you know, we may have some problems with.
Yeah.
I kind of am still concerned that this is the Spock show, because to me, Star Trek, the original series was about Kirk. You know, and yes, Spock is his best friend, and McCoy's his best friend, but it's always down to Spock. Spock. Admiral Spock, his feelings, his girlfriend, Uhura. So, I know that Abrams is a huger fan, I guess, of Spock than Kirk, but at the end of the day, it should be mostly focused on Kirk.
Well, Abrams has said that he was bored by the TV show, so that tells me a lot about where he's coming from with Trek, and I got a problem with that, because Trek really is about more of what the TV show is about than his stupid action films that he makes.
Right.
Or that he's involved with, I should say.
Another issue I had, I really like this movie. Please, don't get me wrong, I really like this movie. Another little thing that bothered me was the fact that it seemed to me like everybody's character development was kind of bigger than Kirk's was. I mean, Scotty had more stuff to do, I felt.
It has to be expected since Simon Pegg wrote it, right?
Well, I mean, he wrote it, but you would think, all right, you know, you wouldn't focus yourself as a main point of the movie.
I thought McCoy had a huge part, and I love McCoy. He's my favorite character, so I thought that was great. That's one of the few things I liked about the movie, actually.
That's what they captured was the Kirk, basically the McCoy-Spock dynamic of the back and forthness. I didn't feel in the whole trilogy that they really showed off the Kirk-Spock friendship. I never really got it. I got it with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy.
Well, they were adversarial in the Abrams movies.
Right. This is the whole point. The whole point was, and the funny thing was, right after I saw Into Beyond, I went back and watched the original Abrams one. You know?
Yeah.
But, I mean, to me, it's like... And the thing that bothers me, too, is the whole thing with Ambassador Spock, right? So everybody in this universe just takes it at face value that Spock is from the future and nobody's trying to hunt him down for information. You know, enemies not trying to go after him. Ambassador Spock. I don't understand. I mean, if everybody knew that this guy was from...
Maybe they are, we just haven't seen that.
I mean, he's dead now. I mean,
well,
he died in this... You know, they showed that he died, and he basically left him a picture showing the reality he came from, you know?
Well, they showed a picture of the film crew of the original series, which was kind of cool. Yeah, that was neat seeing that.
I like that. I like that a lot. I really didn't feel the Sulu thing was necessary.
Well, they were really cowardly the way that they executed that, because Star Trek's always been about diversity and progressive thinking, and if they're really gonna like forge ahead with dealing with social issues, which they should, and dealing with like I guess the quote unquote gay matter, the gay issue, then they need to just come out and show that, because there's nothing wrong with that. And the way that they executed it in the film was very cowardly, I thought, because they weren't very concise with stating that that was Sulu's husband or domestic partner,
See,
whatever
to
you
me,
want to call it.
you look at that, and immediately, if you didn't know the news or anything, you could say, all right, all he did was he touched his shoulder, he hugged, whatever, right?
Or
Could
that's
have been a
Sulu's
brother.
Yeah,
Could have
exactly.
been a brother. Could have been a
Cousins.
best friend.
Yeah.
Cousin. Just because a guy hugs a guy doesn't mean he's gay. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, to me, where does that mean? Like, what did you do to tell me that that person's gay? Because, like, I mean, this is what I'm worried about as a society, too.
That's what I thought was cowardly. Well, before you tackle this, that's what I thought was cowardly, because we had the original series, which broke boundaries because it had the first interracial kiss, and it was right there in your face. They didn't pull back from it.
Right.
They didn't make a big deal about it. But they're too chicken shit to show a same-sex kiss, you know,
Right.
for Star Trek. That's cowardly. And if there's ever a series that could actually get away with minimal uproar over something like that, it would be a progressive show like Star Trek. But they were too chicken shit to actually put that in there. That's my thought.
And for me, to grab somebody's arm like this, right? Like, I guess he went like this, and that doesn't mean, I don't get how can I get to that determination that he's gay by him touching some other guy's shoulder, like, hey, man, you know? Like, if friends are playing a game, they're like, hey, man, they touch a person's shoulder, all right, man, hug. What does that mean? Like, you mean to tell me in society now it's like, if a guy hugs another guy, that they're gay? Or they touch his shoulder, or pat somebody on the back, they're gay? That's retarded. That's like, this is supposed to be the future, where they're not afraid to do anything. So
it's not like the guy was like whistling a Judy Garland tune or something, you know, something obvious that would show that the guy was gay. But
guy, they have stuff on TV. God, we saw True Blood, where the guy's, orangutan is hanging out and he's behind the other guy, like, let's go. I'm like, Jesus, like, I mean. And then Torchwood and Captain Jack's like, you want to be my companion, stuff like that. I mean, but this was a friggin' movie, and like, hey man, hey, like that. Does that mean you're gay? No, it does not. That's insulting. It's insulting that is like the biggest insult to the lesbian gay community, that a fucking shoulder grab and a hug means you're gay. That's horrendous, I think. So I think that's a cop-out because, maybe it's a thing. And I heard that they cut the scene out that they kissed. So it makes you wonder that all this talk about the first character, whatever, right? Because of what George Takei said, they might have took that out.
Well, to put it in context too, I was watching some PBS documentary about the '60s and last week, and in the early to mid-'60s, they were spotlighting, I guess, like the entertainment during the time, the movies, the TV shows that were changing the culture. And they were showing the singer Leslie Gore had her own variety show, and Harry Belafonte was on there with her. And they sang a duet together. And apparently, like, the producers had a big deal because at the end of the song, she just put her arm around Harry Belafonte's arm, like they were singing together, like having purposeful meaning with what they were singing. And that was a huge thing. And it's like, how far have we come now that they're afraid to show Sulu, like, oh no, he's gay, he's going to kiss some other guy. I mean,
I just think they should have shut up about the whole thing and not do it at all. Because it kind of overshadowed poor Anton's death over there. I mean, we saw the whole movie, for Anton, for Len Nimoy. I mean, all right.
Anton was great at that.
He was fantastic. He was fantastic.
I liked everyone but the stuff with Kirk and Spock in this movie, actually. Uhura was great. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, I just felt it was implied that they were friends, but there wasn't anything like... There was no... I don't want to say anything that's going to insult... Ah, fuck it, I don't care. There was no fucking chemistry between, like, Christopher Pine and fucking Zachary Quinto that they're best fucking friends in this movie. I didn't get that shit. I got the fact that. I mean, did you get it?
Well, Nimoy always portrayed Spock with like a quiet. He had quiet dignity, but Quinto seemed like he had a stick shoved up his ass in the role in this film the whole time.
At least in the first one and the second one, there was nothing about a Kirk Spock thing in this. It was just like, oh, I didn't believe that they were best friends in this.
Yeah.
You know, it's different from the 2009 movie or even the last movie. But this, I did not get that they were close in this at all.
Well, maybe they were relying on the fact that Spock did so much in the Into Darkness film to kind of like get their friendship, I guess, a lot more with the fact that he saved Kirk's life at that point. But
right.
You know, I don't know. I'm like you. That it seemed a little bit like.
But again, that became the Spock show too, because it's like, oh, future Spock, tell me about Khan, and Khan's the greatest villain of the Enterprise. Oh, okay, thank you, and that means I can take no prisoners. I got to kill this mother effer. Well, it's like, you know.
We saw the 2009, the first film. That obviously was their first voyage. Do we know when Into Darkness took place from that film? How far into the 5-year mission was that?
Not well. This one was the third year of the 5-year mission.
That's where I'm going with this because
so
obviously
I'm guessing that the Into Darkness was like a year into. I'm thinking.
So they're just having you expect that this relationship between the two had progressed as friends to the point to where you just assume this. But that's a fallacy though now because the people who really just know Star Trek based on these films, they're kind of thrown for a loop a little bit. Whereas with the old series, you have like you have decades of chemistry and history between these guys.
And another thing, did it feel kind of forced to you that he was going to become a freaking admiral already when he really didn't do shit that much? I mean, here's the thing, right? Like this Star Trek 3, Star Trek 2, he was admiral, right? Wrath of Khan, right? And, you know, Star Trek 3, he didn't want to be, whatever. And the whole thing with Star Trek 3 was the birthday and everything. They kind of took some elements of Search for Spock. They threw it in there about his birthday, but only he's a lot younger than he was in Search for Spock. But to me...
Yeah, I think Kirk and Khan, wasn't he turning 50? Wasn't that the big thing?
Yeah, I mean... It's like,
and like Chris Pine's like 32 or something?
Yeah. And to me, what the hell happened to Chris Pine all of a sudden? He sounds like he's... His voice, did he smoke a lot of cigarettes or something? He sounds like really deep, like, you know,
smoking
like what?
Some of that Romulan ganja.
I'm like, Covenant's log. So I'm like, what? No, but here's the thing. The funny thing was, I liked it, but there's certain things in it. I'm like, eh. Now, I just had a feeling from seeing the trailer about what you know what I'm going to talk about next, with the music and everything. It was like kind of leaked, basically, how they were going to defeat. And again, guys, I do apologize. It's spoilers. I'm going to put spoilers on the title because I didn't really announce it at the beginning of the movie. But these B-type aliens that were having this, I guess, hive mentality, like the Borg.
Yeah, they swarm.
Right, a swarm. That they had to distract it from their flow, so the only way they could do it was to play Beastie Boys Sabotage, which I mean, I thought it was cool. My kids, you know, Joe loved it, but he was like making fun of it. He's like, yeah, you know, because I took Joe to see it. He's like, they played Beastie Boys. It was like, you know, come on. Like, he was just like, how many times have we seen that in a movie? And I was trying to think what other movies that they had something like that. It was Mars Attacks, right? Where they played that weird music that killed the Martians with Jack Nicholson. And remember that?
I remember the movie. I don't remember.
And then there was another one. I don't know if it was Jeepers Creepers. No, what the hell was it? But there was a few movies that was something like that. But I enjoyed it anyway because that wasn't totally the way it ended when they stopped the Beehive mentality. They still had to deal with Crawl, which turns out was a Starfleet officer all along, which really wasn't explained how he became looking like that, and then all those people, that was supposed to be his crew, or no? Because all those people were the same race he was. So if he was infected to become like that, what the hell are they? You know what I'm saying? Like that was like weird.
The writing let that story point down in that aspect. The other thing I had an issue with was they had this like Deus Ex Machina explanation of like how they were going to get off the planet now that the Enterprise got destroyed at the beginning of the movie. There just happened to be like a ship that crashed on the planet, you know, and it happened to be like
that was his ship.
The Franklin, yeah, I know, but I mean, that's what I'm saying is they, you know, how convenient, like the ship, and it still worked, and then you know, oh man, there's so much to go into with some of the things I had a problem with.
If that's your effing ship, and then you just leave it, you don't even know it's there. Like, I mean, they said something like his mind was so effed up that he forgot he was with Starfleet. He forgot that. He just had this rage against Starfleet that he forgot. So that means to tell me that, you know, somebody could just take that ship and put it in a cloaking device, which technically...
The thing I was thinking is, what if they're looking for a Trojan horse to use to bring, like, their device into, like, Federation territory and cause havoc, why don't they use the original Federation ship? If that ship is still working, why wouldn't you use that as Trojan horse? Because they'd be like, oh, you know, the ship's been rescued, you know, it's coming back. You know, they could find some way to finagle like that to happen instead of having to create all this whole technological, all this stuff. Where'd they get all of the material to make all of these? I mean, there were like hundreds of thousands of
There was thousands of ships. I mean, did this alien race infect him and then he became their leader? Would that not happen? I mean, wouldn't he be a servant to the alien and not lead the whole effing race?
Yeah, and they had conveniently they had the motorcycle on there so that Kirk could do outrageous Fast and the Furious Star Trek style stuff, which is stupid, I thought.
And she's listening to music. I was like, okay.
Fight the Power by Public Enemy.
Even her thing, right? Like, you're trained like a warrior like that, and then, you know, how did she get inspiration to go? I mean, you lost your whole effing crew, so you're just petrified to go there, but then Scotty makes a gesture and Kirk, and it's like, all right, I'll go. It's like, I would have thought they would have explored a romance between her and Kirk, at least, or something. I mean, they could explain her being part of the crew, you know, in the next movie, because I really think she should be, because, I mean, obviously they're going to have a void with Chekhov being there. They're not going to replace him, they said, at all with a different actor. So it's just, you know, there's going to have to be somebody that's going to have to take his place. It's not, you know. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, just like Tasha Yar, when she died in Next Generation, you know, Worf became the security officer, you know. So, I mean, Chekhov's position, somebody's going to take that role, and probably she would take that role, I would guess. But, I don't know. But, I did like this movie a lot because what blew my mind was, you know, I like the fact that they made the special effects and all of the stuff in that century, because you know Next Generation is supposed to be well beyond that in Voyager, but the space station really got to me. I really liked the Yorktown space station, the way it was almost like a planet with water and I guess an artificial thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really, looking at that, the immense size of that, you know, I really like that a lot. But what really doesn't make any sense to me, and I think you're gonna 100% agree with me, Mike D, is the fact that if you have something like that in space, you don't have like Starfleet's best ships guarding that shit. You have rinky-dink security systems that's protecting some type of space station like that. You don't have any starships anywhere near there protecting that space station.
Yeah, that's a little odd.
Like, just like when Earth was in trouble, like, where are your ships?
Well, yeah, like in Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, you had a situation like that where the planet was being attacked at the end of that movie, and they had all these, like, thousands of ships in the air.
Tons of stuff.
Yeah, they just had, like, they had, like, basically, like, air traffic controllers just saying, oh, we're being attacked, and that was it. Like, oh, we're fucked.
But, you don't have the best technology protecting the probably most expensive thing in the history of the Earth. Well, I mean, the space station's like bigger than like 20 space stations. It's like a planet with billions of people on there.
Yeah, giant biosphere. And then the technology they would have to construct such a place as that, but they don't have equal on the defense side of things.
Right.
It's a little bit off.
Well, it's like plot holes. basically.
Yeah, and then the thing with the main villain and Kirk fighting, and then shutting off the gravity to a degree, and Kirk's like basically flying through the air like Neo from Matrix, from building to building, fighting this guy. It was really like, come on, give me a break.
Right. I mean, you knew like McCoy was going to save him. You know, he wasn't.
Yeah, and then after the Enterprise crashes, the saucer section's still like pretty much 2/3 intact. It's just it's burning and in the process of being just, I guess, burned up, but it's still there for the most part as a whole. And they turn on the thrusters to basically flip the saucer section on its head, and they slide down. Chekhov and Kirk slide out of the bridge window down the saucer section.
That was like a Transformers ridiculousness. If you remember that Transformers movie with it,
I
fall from the building. Okay, that was
they
ridiculous.
They slide down it, and I mean, think of how big the saucer section is. They slide down it, and it's pretty much at a straight angle where it's like straight to the ground. And then they survive that, and then Kirk's like yelling at Chekhov, "Run!" because it's obviously going to flip totally on its head, and that they're able to on foot just start sprinting away from the saucer section. Somehow they make it out of the way of it flipping down and crashing.
See, the whole thing is that thing is supposed to be so huge that it's like a football fields where it would take you literally, what, days to run across that thing?
Well, I mean, it flipped over pretty quickly.
I mean,
it was already starting to come down towards them when they started to run. And they're running over terrain, too. Like, they're having to run over hills, like in rocks. It's not like a flat surface, too.
Well, I didn't understand how he's riding the motorcycle. When you see him riding the motorcycle into the thing,
oh, yeah.
Like, well, how could he run over that without cracking his head? There was no flat surface to ride on that. That stuff didn't make any sense. It was all rocky and shit. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
That part of the movie was what I was like fearing was going to happen, which is like Justin Lin doing another Fast and the Furious in space, because there was some really outlandish, crazy shit in this movie.
There was a lot of crazy shit in this movie, but you know what? It was no Into Darkness, so I give it a pass because that was even more of an insult than anything to me, and I'm glad that they didn't repeat shit like that. But I mean, they did. I got to give them props for trying to do something different. You know, like I mean, all right, that was cool having the thing destroy the shit out of Enterprise because nobody's ever really done that. So he was totally like caught with his pants down, really, not knowing what the F to do, and nobody else really do. And it was like when he said cut the. I did like when Kroll was like, cut. What do you say? Like cut the throat.
Cut its throat.
Cut the throat of the ship.
Cut their throat, yeah.
Like meaning the ship's throat, cut its throat. Like and fucking the whole ship was just like fucked. I was like, I really enjoyed that. I'm sorry. I mean, that was really cool effect. I wasn't crazy about the interaction on the space station. I thought that was kind of flat, which is like, everybody gets lost sometimes, Kirk. It's like, you know, every fucking time somebody goes to become an admiral, they're lost, so they just say, oh, screw it. I mean, to me, it's like, you know, I mean, I don't really... To me, it's like we only have 3 movies, and the whole first movie was bullshit, talking about, I should be captain because of destiny, because Future Spock says so, you know? So we only got one real movie to deal with, like, him being Kirk. And it's not enough for me to say, all right, he's an admiral already, you know? I mean, it's like, if they would have said it in Star Trek 4, I'd been like, oh, okay, you know? But it was like one damn movie that he was actually captain of the Enterprise. So... you know, that didn't work for me, you know. The aliens, you know, again, they didn't explain anything with the aliens, but it was still better than Into Darkness, I gotta say. And it was still better than the first Star Trek movie, too, because watching that right after, it's like there's so many problems I have with that didn't make any sense, you know, originally. That, with Nero and all that stuff. So... again, this was actually the first movie we really had with this crew that we actually got to enjoy it. Amongst, you know, these things that we have to pick apart, you know. But still, I mean, I honestly think we need some movies to better judge this cast and crew. And, you know, all these other stupid things about Spock wanting to have baby Spocks and crap like that, that's, like, irrelevant. You know, like it's just like so stupid some of the stuff that they were just coming up with, and I mean, they did have some funny stuff about the necklace that Uhura had. You know, that was pretty funny. I thought, like you're tracking your girlfriend.
I thought all of McCoy's scenes I thought were great. Carl Urban did a great job. I thought that for me, he made the movie to me.
He channeled DeForest Kelly, absolutely for me. I loved him. I thought he was great, but Spock wasn't totally Spock. Like he's no Leonard Nimoy, and I know they're trying to say that the timeline's different, but that's horse crap,
shit.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's constantly breaking emotions. He's constantly having emotions. So it's like, give me a break. You know, Spock, it took you 7 years for him to smile or some shit. You know? I mean, this is like, I know you're trying to speed it up, but...
Well, I love when they constructed the plan to defeat the attack on the space station at the end, and Spock and McCoy needed to go out in a ship to cause the diversion, I guess you could say, or whatnot. And you know, they're like, "Oh, he's gonna love this." And then they cut right to McCoy going, "Oh yeah, I know this is your idea." Like,
that was great. That was great. That's what we need. That.
And then the thing where he's surrounded with Spock, and he's like, "Well, I guess I'm not going out on my own." Then they beam Spock out, and he's like, "Oh, this is great. This is just, you know,
yeah.
This of course this would happen." And then McCoy's standing there about to get blasted, and he's like, "All right, bring it on, motherfuckers."
Yeah.
And then they beam him
It's
out.
like, I'm a doctor, not a I loved. He was the best part of the movie. Carl Urban, best part. What do you think is the worst part of it?
About everything else.
What do you think of Idris Elba? What do you think of Idris Elba?
I'm thinking about that. I mean, I guess for like what he was doing, he was all right. I didn't really get the sense that he really was that strong a villain, though.
Yeah, I mean, he was different, but I didn't understand some of the stuff they were saying. Like, he was like, oh, he's trying to save us, like his own mentality. I mean, what was his mentality? That everybody's just got to be at war all the time?
Well, his thing was that with having conflict, it grows people stronger, and like kind of like an evolutionary thing. It brings them to like a higher level. So he thought that the Federation's ideology had become one of like being stagnant, which is something that Daniel and I talked about with an idea like a while back that we all were talking about the Federation was just so sterilized, and like this whole idea, everything was just seemed so complacent because there was no conflict at all. So I kind of got what the guy was saying, but I mean, obviously the guy was a terrorist to his own kind,
right?
With the mentality of actually executing that in a terroristic way. But that's sort of a problem with Star Trek, and it's interesting to see that they kind of picked up on what we were talking about as far as that, because he was actually going with that ideology and carrying it out in a terroristic way of the fact that the Federation were just kind of stagnant, and it's one of these things where having conflict, it's like he was just looking at the Federation as just being like a big club of goody-goodies, and
right,
you know, there were things that would occur that would negatively impact things because of that complacency and that stagnation. And you know, right. Before I forget it, the beginning scene was great too, where they showed Kirk on the planet trying to talk to that alien group. He was in that council.
Great. That was great.
They all seemed like these huge, like, monolithic creatures, and then they run down to attack Kirk, and they're like little pug dogs or something.
Well, that I love, because you know what it was like. Yeah, Kirk is not to negotiate peace. You would have Picard do something like that, you know. But Kirk is not the type that. He's the type that, you know, if you mess with this, we'll blow you up. But he's trying to be like, this is a, you know, I was cracking up. I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, no, Cisco's more the kind that would say, if you fuck with us, we're just going to kill you. You know, blow you
but
up.
I like the line. He's like, I ripped another shirt.
Oh, yeah.
And then he opens up the closet, and they're all like the same color shirts. It's like, Jesus, you know? Oh, my God.
Well, in a way that is kind of contrasted with what the main villain's motivation is, because like they're basically admitting that there is a stagnation with being in the Federation, he's got all these same suits. One day it trickles into another. It's all like you said. If it's a 5-year mission to keep exploring endless space, then when do we know that we've gotten from point A to point B? It's just an ongoing effort that never ceases.
Right. I mean,
what do you think of the? Well, Daniel hasn't seen the movie, so it's a little difficult to I guess, for him to comment directly about it. But I mean, I've just had a problem with that whole stagnation. And the Next Generation, I love the show, but it just seems so sterile. Everyone was always happy all the time with shit,
but they did start stuff with the Maquis and all that shit that showed that Starfleet had this other side of it. I mean, they tried to stir shit up with the other section of Starfleet that's like the Black Ops and
Section 31.
Yeah, I mean, they did start that continued in the other series, where even Voyager, Chakotay was part of the Maquis. I mean, and this one was part of the Maquis, Tuvok, and then, what I'm saying? So, I think B'Elanna Torres, but...
Tom Paris, don't forget him.
Yeah.
He was like one of the main guys that had to, through Voyager, he was one of the more interesting characters.
I love Voyager to death. I mean, that Enterprise, though, I mean, I don't know what... Even to
see, you've got a problem with Enterprise, and I understand. I've heard your reasoning for that, but I liked Enterprise.
Well, see, my big problem is I think that they even, by having that last episode like that, how could we believe that any of that really happened? Because they kind of shitted on the last episode. Like, they're watching it as holodeck propaganda that was just created that you think you know how it is, but you don't. So, I mean, how do we know that whole thing when Enterprise even existed?
Well, they crowbarred that last episode in because of when they found out it was going to be canceled, and they needed to tie it up real quick with a nice little pretty bow of things. But yeah. I look at that series as actually half occurred. I think I take that one adventure, that one episode that Riker and Troy were viewing on the holodeck as being just a self-contained story.
Right.
Because if they talk about this guy, what is it, Krall, that's the villain in Star Trek Beyond, as being they reference that he was in the Xindi War, then obviously it did occur.
Mm.
And he fought the Romulans, he fought the Xindi, he was in the Xindi War, so, I mean, obviously it's a reference that did occur. And right. They showed Archer's generation of the Federation as having been a real thing, because they showed him on the video when they were showing him as, what was it, Captain... trying to think of his name.
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, but even the uniforms were similar to Enterprise too, that they were wearing.
Yeah.
So, my problem was the last episode. I didn't like that Trip Tucker died. Like that's bullshit. And
yeah.
Then I had a lot. See, I don't want to turn this into like a Enterprise thing, but I love Scott Bakula as Captain Archer. What I felt was that Enterprise should not have been where they tried so hard to make Archer a better captain than Kirk. They tried to take every accomplishment that Kirk had and give it to Archer. They tried to... He was the first one to encounter the Romulans instead of Kirk. He encountered the Borg instead of Picard. I didn't like that. I didn't like any of that. They could have done so many different things with Archer, where they didn't have to make him a Kirk clone, or, oh, he was before Kirk, so he's better than Kirk, and Kirk lives up to his ideals. Like, I didn't... That to me, like, I never saw that as... Even the creators of Enterprise had basically said that it was an alternate timeline created from the events of First Contact, which... how the hell could you say that that's connected to the real universe then, if it was... I mean, if different things were altered, So, I mean, I'm kind of like, I love the crew of Enterprise, but I did not like the inferior technology. And I just wish it was like a future thing, not a past thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, so many things, like from the original series to Next Generation to, I'm not sure about DS9, but I know like the Starship-centric series of Star Trek, Voyager included especially, that you could make an argument for it during any of those series eras that alternate timelines were created, and we're seeing what happened as a result of those alternate
Right.
universes going forward from that episode.
I mean, the way I look at Star Trek, I look at Kirk's time, I look at Cisco's time, Janeway's time, Picard's time. But as far as Archer's crew and everything, I don't recognize that show as connected to the timeline because I'm really really got left with the impression that they kind of threw it under the rug that it didn't really happen that way and they were just bullshitting their way about it. I mean, they didn't
Well,
call it Star Trek. They called it Enterprise, and it was only until years later that they recognized it as Star Trek Enterprise. So they didn't even have a theme music. They had like a song, and then they all of a sudden they changed it after a while. So again, they had a lot of great things in Enterprise. I mean, the mirror mirror thing was really cool. I mean, there was a lot of cool stuff, especially you jump into the future, and there was the one where the tachyons was he was like the memories that he had. T'Pol was with him on the planet Archer, and then that thing that they was that was a great thing. I mean, what was it, the temporal Cold War or whatever how that was? That was a cool story arc, but they never really like
Paid it off.
did they ever really show who the threat was, the shadow guy? I mean, not really.
No.
So I had a problem with that because you want things resolved, and when you don't resolve things, like with Moffat things, then we have a problem with that stuff. So to me, if I don't, I want like a customer satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. With this, I just felt that they just crapped all over Enterprise themselves. I mean, they basically threw that episode in there to have an open-minded thing that, hey, maybe this didn't happen, which, why'd you waste how many years of our lives with it if you're going to do something like that? I didn't like that at all, the last episode, that it was just there watching on a holodeck. I thought that was disrespectful to the Enterprise show. But again...
I think Daniel was going to say something there.
Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it was an alternate timeline. I always considered it an alternate timeline created from the events of First Contact and the Temporal Cold War. So, yeah, I don't think it was ever I mean, it wasn't supposed to at least be connected to the original.
That's what I think. And then when they saw the holodeck, it's like
it wasn't.
Yeah.
And that last episode, I consider it like when they were watching it from the TNG Enterprise, that was like the future of that alternate timeline. That wasn't the Enterprise D that we knew. That was the alternate Enterprise D from the Enterprise timeline. I don't know. It's confusing. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
That's how I consider it. That's how I consider it because
they could pay it off in the new series, Star Trek Discovery, with the Shadow Man somehow. Maybe make him, isn't he supposed to be from the future of the Federation?
Yeah, he was supposed to be like a future guy, I don't know, some guy from the 29th century or something.
Yeah, they could continue that in the new series.
Yeah, they should.
In some sort of story arc.
See, the thing is, I'm looking forward to the Star Trek Discovery, but I have a problem that it's not the Enterprise ship. And I have a problem it's just not the next generation of that. Like, I don't understand why they can't just give us that. Like, why are they not allowed to?
No, they can't because J.J. Abrams has the Enterprise. He's using the Enterprise. Legally, they can't do that in the TV show.
So when does the new show take place?
They say it's, some people say
we're not entirely sure. I mean, again, I don't want to talk about this on the show, but I guess we'll talk about it anyway.
Well, we could start a new, because I'm sure we get a lot to talk about with the new one.
See, the thing is that I liked the teaser, but the thing is that why does the ship look like a Klingon ship cross between? I mean, me and old Doc were talking about this before, and he said, he's like, why does this look like a cross between a Klingon and a Federation ship? Like, because you see the way things are angled, and it's like, he's right. It's like, oh, it's like, why can't you just do? I mean, did something happen where the Klingons are like living on Earth now or something, and their planets are destroyed, and they're just like
the ship looks like it's constructed in more of a stealth fashion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I hope I like it, but we'll see. I
Maybe
don't really.
maybe something they'll explain that's more conducive to like warp when they warp or something because of the nature of the way it's constructed.
And we don't know if this is. I mean, it would make sense if they say it's post Voyager. It would make sense, but if they start doing some crazy shit and say it's like before Nemesis or right after the, I mean, it's whatever. I don't know. And it's in the Prime universe, or is it an alternate universe? Or we don't even know.
No, like Brian Fuller, he said it was in the original universe, but he won't say when. He won't say when though.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to know when this takes place. That's going to speak volumes about what to expect.
Right. Because if it's when you start putting it in the past, you kind of limit yourself to what you could actually do. Because you're not going to destroy Earth because Next Generation, you know what I'm saying? Or you're not going to do something crazy like destroy. So
yeah, but that could be an alternate timeline though, where that because Vulcan blew up in the first Abrams film, but we know Vulcan's still around in Voyager.
Well, actually, technically, the show should take place around right after Spock left.
Yeah.
Where they said that the Romulan planet, right, got destroyed.
Yeah.
And around that time, which is after Voyager, after everything.
Yeah.
That's when it has to be.
Maybe a year or two after Spock disappeared into Spock and Nero got sucked in.
See, I want to see Cisco pop up in the new show.
Yeah.
They should have resolved that a long time ago that he was still alive. I mean, they did kind of hint that the race saved him and that he could come back and stuff, but
bring back the Shadow guy and story arc and have like Cisco defeat him or something.
Well, they already had Picard deal with the villains of the 31st century when he was with what's her name, Vash. Like when they were like, you're trying to be like Indiana Jones, like taking like artifacts and doing that weird thing, and there was like those villains from the far future. I think it was the 31st century, or could have been 27th century, 26th century or 27th century.
Yeah, but they could in the new series they could just like create a new character that's gone back through history and like screwed up things in the timeline. I mean, like with Star Trek, it's like Doctor Who. You can fuck.
Well, Voyager, they had the guy that in the, wasn't it the 31st century that they would the time directive.
Is that the
time directive? Is
that the one with Ed Begley was in it?
It was
Ed
the Voyager
Begley.
thing. The guy was the ship's captain was the villain and he was the hero, but he was.
But there was 2 episodes in Voyager, I believe, that had Ed Begley. I think we're talking about the same one where he was like a time agent or something, and he was an actor, blonde hair.
Yeah, it might be. It might be. Ed Begley Jr. you're talking about?
Yeah, he was like the guy that you're talking about, that character.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's the same.
It might be that, and then there was another one where it was there was a time ship that just kept erasing things from history. But that was the best Voyager thing I think I've ever seen. The Year of Hell, Part 1 and 2. So that I really enjoyed.
I watched those recently, about 2 months ago. I think I saw the one that you're talking about around that time too, where I think it was like Janeway and Chakotay were coming back on like a shuttle, and like, something was going on where, it was the dad from the '70s show, that guy.
Yes, that was the Year of Hell, Part 1 and 2, where he invented the ship that was when he zapped something, it erased him from history.
Yeah, he was trying to like go back and like pull the one thread out that would save his wife.
He was trying to save his kid,
wife, yeah.
Right. From trying to alter it where he could fix it, but it didn't work out that way. But also, that's where they first got the quantum shielding that they used in the final Voyager episode, where the futuristic Janeway had helped out the original Janeway to defeat the Borg and infect them with a virus, if you remember.
Did you like, by the way, in Star Trek Beyond, the reference that Scotty made about the disappearance of the Franklin? And he said some people said that it encountered a giant green hand in space, and they were referencing the original series episode, Who Mourns for Adonis, the Apollo episode, where he stopped the ship in space with a green hand.
And that guy came back in Star Trek Continues, too.
Is it Michael Norrie? Is that his name?
You watch Star Trek Continues, right?
No. I'm familiar with it. I just don't have it.
Okay.
Or not?
I'll send you a link to it.
Yeah,
They do a great job with continuing the episodes with permission. Well, they did have permission. I don't know about now, but they had permission to do them before and continue on the original series with the same type of sets and everything. So they did a great Mirror Mirror sequel to that.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Well,
so.
Speaking of Mirror Mirror, you were talking about the Voyage or the Enterprise episodes they did of that. Those were excellent. Yeah.
That's what I said. Yeah, I said
And
that was the best Mirror Mirror stuff they've ever done.
Yeah, and the Zindi that season 3, that was great. I thought, and season 4 was great.
Well, I liked the thing. Like I said, I liked the show. I just didn't like certain things that they've done that just annoy. I don't like anything that messes with or retcons the history of anything. Like I don't like.
Well, they did it with Doctor Who also.
Yeah, I don't like when Marvel Comics now is trying to retcon that Deadpool had the alien symbiote of Venom before Peter Parker did. That's nonsense, and I don't like when they do anything like that when Star Trek, when they try to make Archer encountered the Romulans first instead of Kirk. I mean that annoyed me because you keep taking away his accomplishments, and what does he have? So that's you don't do that. You don't knock down one captain to boost another captain because that's when the fans rebel. Just like you don't bring Khan back when nobody wants you to bring a different actor as Khan back. It even goes back to we did a cast I think you and I a while back, and we were talking how we're so happy that the company had announced that they're never going to do an Exorcist movie. But then they bullshitted us because they're not doing an Exorcist movie, they're doing an Exorcist TV series, which was a load of shit because that's really effed up. I'm sorry. So, that just speaks volumes. I mean, I like things the way they exist and don't try to alter shit. Don't go back and say, oh, you should never go back and change a writer's work. Unless, of course, that writer is just trying to destroy the legacy of something, then you just wipe it out. But just like they do in Alien 3 and 4, it's going to be wiped out, never happen in part of canon, continuity, a bad dream, she wakes up 30 years later with Newt's older or whatever. That's going to be great. That is erased from Alien history. No Alien 3, no Alien 4. Let's go.
But you like that when they retcon that, right? I
like that because the whole point was with that, Ripley's supposed to be the hero. She's supposed to, get everybody, help everybody against the alien race. But when she's trying, how could you be a hero if you're trying to kill yourself and commit suicide the whole movie and the villain won't kill you? It's just it was no weapons, no nothing. I mean, what are you trying to do with the franchise? You're trying to destroy the franchise. And then the one after that they didn't know what to do because they killed her off, but they really shouldn't have. You clone her from a fingernail. That was it was better than Alien 3, where they tried to make she had super strength and stuff, but she still wasn't Ripley. So it was it was just a carbon copy, and Winona Ryder was trying to be Bishop, and that didn't really work either. So, I just want things and this happens all the time. I mean, I want this to say Star Trek, so we can always go into everything show and talk about it. But I just want now they're going to do this again. This is another thing. In the next Star Trek movie, why does it have to be time travel? Why do you gotta now? His father's gone, right? Mm-hmm. So now you want to bring his father into it. So how could you bring his father into it without changing the timeline back to the Prime Universe or whatever? I mean, are you going to do a Mirror Mirror universe where his father's the villain? I don't know about that. I mean, instead of
Kirk's father?
Yeah.
Did they say they're trying to do that or something?
They said that Chris Hemsworth, who played his father in 2009, is definitely signed, definitely coming back as his father in the next movie.
Yeah, but that could be flashbacks or something crazy like that.
No, not really. Not the way they said it. the way they said it, it's either they're gonna do a father versus son thing, or they're gonna do some type of weird.
Like a City on the Edge of Forever, where they go back in time and.
I don't know. I don't even think they'll ever do City on the Edge of Forever, to tell you the truth, in this universe. But I just don't want them to screw it up. I want to just have original movies. They go to explore uncharted space, like they were talking about at the end of this movie. And just do weird stuff with that. Like do interesting stuff with that.
The biggest mistake that they made with Into Darkness was, and I think like Daniel and I were talking about this on a cast, and I think you chimed in there as well, but making Benedict Cumberbatch Khan, they should have made him like Khan's second henchman or one of the other people in suspended animation, and change it up where they reference maybe Khan was one of the people that were on the Botany Bay, but instead of in the old timeline, in this timeline they have it as like like the guy, I think his name was it Joachim or something was his name. The Khan's lackey, Ricardo Montalbans, in Wrath of Khan. They could have had that character be the main villain instead of Cumberbatch being Khan. Or they could have brought him out of the suspended animation.
I still think they could fix it technically and say he wasn't Khan. Like they could make it like his brain arranged and Khan's still out there, but then
I know why
that they could kill Khan before he wakes up to make it like I
think they did the whole thing. Abrams likes these little gimmicks as marketing gimmicks for like his films. I think that they went with the name recognition of Khan, but I think it would have been a cool sort of sleight of hand, if you will, to make it to where you were expecting, I'm going to be one step ahead of Abrams. Yeah, it's going to be Khan, but no, it's not. It's one of the other guys. And that would have been like, that's cool that they kind of thought that twist and put that into play, because if you're dealing with alternate timelines, why not take advantage of like some cool sort of sleight of hand like that, and instead of like if you did like another another universe, and you're like, they're introducing Kirk, he's going to be the captain, but instead it's like some other guy becomes the captain, and Kirk's like just like Riker's rank or something.
That's like Tapestry from Picard, when Picard was with Q when he was going to die, and he unraveled his whole timeline, and he became first officer instead of captain.
Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah. So, I don't know. I just think that they should. I don't know why it takes so long to do a movie amongst. Back in the day, they were able to do movies quicker. I don't know why it takes the next 3 years to be another Star Trek. Why can't you just pop out one next year?
I want Sisko to be seen in the new series. He needs to show up, maybe to be involved in like a couple episodes, maybe warning them of some threat as the what was he, the prophet or something at the end of that series?
Is it Chosen One? The emissary.
Yeah, why can't he make some sort of like glorious appearance, i.e. like a Christ type figure, right, on the ship, and warn them of something that's going to happen, or show up and somehow be involved in that, because you're still working within the mythos of what Star Trek, what's come before, right, in the pantheon of the series, and that would be cool, because Sisko's just too cool a character just to kind of.
He definitely is. He definitely is cool.
I love what they're saying about the new series. I remember reading something online. Rod Roddenberry said that old fans may not like the new series, and that just sounds like, to me, it sounds kind of interesting, because I'm like, okay, so it's not going to be all preachy and lovey-dovey like Next Generation, where we're all like, oh, I love you, more, more. It's not going to be all.
That wasn't what Next Generation was like that. Best of Both Worlds 1 and 2.
Yeah, how many times they do that?
Lovey-dovey crap like that.
How many times they do that? Only twice.
Dude, Star Trek V, they're toasting marshmallows.
Row your boat.
Are you serious?
Well, come on. Even Mike does. Even Mike.
You don't get any worse than toasting marshmallows.
Okay, yeah.
They didn't say marshmallows. They said marshmelons, which doesn't
Star
even.
Trek V was a bad movie.
Huh?
Star Trek V was a bad movie. I didn't like
that.
No,
but that was Kirk's talk. That you can't get any worse than that.
But it had one of the best. It had one of the best lines in all of Star Trek, though. When What does God need a starship for?
Well, yeah, that was, but you know.
But you know, like I'm just so happy with what they're saying. Like Nicholas Meyer said they're going in a different direction.
The guy that wrote Wrath of Khan is doing the series. I mean, you can't get any.
Exactly.
You can't get any better than that.
Rod Roddenberry said that old fans may not like the new series, which
I don't know if he should even make a statement like that, because I mean, I liked Wrath of Khan. That was the greatest thing I've ever seen. So
no, I know, but Rod Roddenberry said old fans may not like the new series.
Old fans like Wrath of Khan. That's their favorite Star Trek movie.
Well, they could have said the same thing about DS9, and that's actually probably up there as one of my favorites of the Star Trek series as a whole, including some of the best episodes.
With the series, you know, they took more creative liberties with the thing. You know, it wasn't all preachy and lovey-dovey and peaceful and crap like that.
They tackled a lot of really dark subject matter in that, especially towards like the later seasons. And then you had like Dax getting killed. You had
I wasn't happy about that at all, but yeah.
Yeah, you had I think what was it? Rom lost his leg in the what is it, the Battle of Wolf 359 or whatever that is, and the Jim Hadar, that whole battle that they did, and I mean God, I mean like the last 3 seasons of DS9 were like some of the best Star Trek ever.
Oh yeah, that was big, yeah.
Yeah, and also like you know Brian Fuller, he just came out and he said like the series is going to be more graphic because they could like take liberties because they can push them
that. Yeah.
You know, because like they're on like streaming, so they don't have to listen to the network saying you can't do this, you can't do that. They're on streaming now. They can push the envelope even further. So it's going to be a little bit more graphic with what they can do. So I'm like, yeah, I love this. I mean, you know, I got to tell you, I don't want it to be like Next Generation. I mean, that idiot Roddenberry, I hate the man. I don't shy away from it, but I hate the man.
You serious? Like,
I mean, do you know how many good ideas that man shot down?
Ridiculous.
Do you know how many good ideas that man shot down? We were supposed to have a, you know, okay. Do you remember yesterday's Enterprise?
That was great.
That was supposed to like it was supposed to stay that way. The writers wanted it to stay that way, where, you know, like something were to happen and the timeline would change, and then they would be at war with the Klingons. They wanted it to stay that way. Unfortunately, Roddenberry said no.
No, it shouldn't have stayed that way. That was making unique. That it was the timeline. I was just watching that today and yesterday. I was showing Joe that about that whole thing.
Also, the creator of the Borg. Roddenberry didn't create the Borg. It was somebody else who created the Borg.
Yeah, all right. So
he wanted to do a Borg war arc where the Borg was coming for us, and we had to. And the rest of the seasons, we're going to be us fighting them. That's it. That's what it was going to be.
Well, in Daniel's defense, also, the main reason people to this day remember Star Trek: The Next Generation was because they got rid of Roddenberry. Because, like in season 2, after that, they pretty much just gave him like a ceremonial sort of.
Yeah, but I understand, like, you know,
rank, like in the credits with things. They got rid of him, and then they Berman, and then they took over and started doing things the way they wanted to do. Because the first season, especially, would just rehashes completely of like
definitely.
old episodes.
I agree that thank God they did the whole thing with the
Although
whole
Conspiracy was great. That episode were the ones where they had like the people that were being replaced in the Federation, like at high ranks with the little worm creatures. Yeah, that was cool.
But I agree. But the thing is, you can't crap on the creator. Like, I understand that maybe, all right, they got to
you mean like George Lucas with those shit prequels? I mean, come on. They outstay their welcome. They outstay their welcome a little bit.
Guys, come on, tell me you wouldn't want to see a Borg war arc. We were supposed to get that.
We got a movie, A First Contact, where they would just, you know, we got snippets of it here and there.
Yeah, snippets, but not like a series.
Deep Space Nine opening pilot. I mean, that was basically Locutus versus destroyed Cisco's, you know, wife and the whole, you know, come on.
I mean, come on, we could have gotten so much more. It would have been like from season 3 to season 7, like the Borg Wars with the Federation. I would have loved to see that.
Listen, let's move forward. Okay, we can't change the past, although they probably could if they retcon things any further. But Star Trek Discovery, you know.
Yeah.
See what they
I
do
mean,
with that.
I love the design of the new ship. I gotta tell you, it looks awesome.
I'm gonna reserve judgment on that. I'm gonna give
It
it.
looks like it looks
I have to
really.
look at it from different angles.
It
First
looks
of
like a
all,
warship to me. It looks kind of like a
Yeah, that's
warship.
what I was thinking. It's a little bit.
it reminds me of the Romulan. I'm sorry, the Klingon ships from the original series. Like if you like the design, the '60s.
Well, I mean, you have like the saucer section, you've got like the main body, and you've got the nacelles. I mean, they're having to work with that sort of imagery, so they just flattened it out and made it more stealth looking. So it just happens to kind of look like the old Klingon ships. But I mean, only because you're lowering the nacelles to where it's more streamlined. I mean, so it's going to look a little like that. But I mean, who cares if it looks a little bit like an old Klingon ship?
Right.
I mean, it's unless you want to make it look like a Flash Gordon or Buck Rogers rocket or something. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy that I hear the mirror universe is going to come back in this series in a big way. I love the mirror universe. I mean, who doesn't love the mirror universe?
Everybody loves the mirror universe, really.
You know, they're not squeaky clean Boy Scouts like the
Oh, stop bashing Next Generation.
They're going to do a Mandela effect in the new Star Trek.
Probably. Listen, let's respect all the Star Trek shows, okay?
Star Trek.
You know, if Next Generation wasn't popular, you wouldn't have Deep Space Nine. You wouldn't have Voyager. Just like you wouldn't have anything from if the original Star Trek TV series.
And when did it get popular? After Roddenberry was booted out of the credentials and the rankings there. I mean, you know, you can honor the guy for creating the show, but it's like, I mean, it has to evolve and kind of move on a bit.
Right. So, let's still show respect where respect is due. Thank you for creating Star Trek.
Yeah, but politely fuck off now.
Yeah.
And thank you, Lucille Ball, also. So.
Desilu.
Yeah.
But I mean
so
there weren't like also these other Star Trek shows at the time when Next Generation was on, and people had been deprived of Trek for like 20 years as far as like on TV at the time, pretty much, because Next Generation premiered, I believe, in '87.
Yeah.
And the other Star Trek, what did it go off in '68? 68, 69, somewhere in that, the overlapping maybe those years somewhere. But you know, in the fan base, you had the movies that came back, and at the time in '87, I mean, what did you have? Star Trek 4 was like the last movie that was out at the time, because 5 came out like what in '88, '89, somewhere in there.
It was like 89, 90, right? It was because Ghostbusters 2 came out, and Indiana Jones Last Crusade.
That was '89 then.
Right, and all those movies came out at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember because I taped all the trailers, and I'm like, oh, you know.
Yeah, well, I saw all these in the theater too, with like probably the week or the weekend or the day they came out. In fact, I remember where I was at, and when I saw Star Trek.
My dad took me to see everything, from Friday the 13th movies to Jaws to anything. We saw everything in the theaters, everything. So
same here. Yeah.
And that's what, you know. Someone made a comment. I think, you know, why did your dad go to the movies all the time? Like, oh, why does your dad have to go see everything in the movies? You know, like I heard that. I'm like, because that's what what's wrong with that? You know, like I heard, it's like, my dad did it, I did it, I take my kids as much as possible. I mean, we do other stuff besides going to the movies, but, you know.
Now people are, like, leaking things online and shit like that. I mean, like, when we were growing up, it was like, the only thing you had was, like, to wait for, like, 9 months or 6 months for it to come out on VHS to rent it. So you had to see it in the theater.
To me, there's nothing like a good old-fashioned going into a huge theater with a big screen, relaxing, having your candy, all your stuff, with your kids, your girlfriend, your old, like just sitting and everything goes away. It's nice and just you relax and that's it.
Unless
I love
there's
that.
Somebody sitting around you popping chewing gum or incessantly.
Right, but I just love that experience. Like I don't see anything wrong with it, and I work hard. And if I want to go to the movies, like all the time, that's my choice. But I like doing it. You know, just like I like doing these YouTube videos. I like writing. I like doing all these things. You got to do what you love, or else you become like, whatever.
By the way, John Hamm was in town. He's visiting from Austin, Texas. Came back to town here, and we went and saw Star Trek Beyond, and he liked the movie more than I did. I didn't say it sucked. I just thought there was some really ridiculous stuff in that, but it was entertaining. But
we picked at different things, but I really loved the movie, actually.
Well, I thought Star Trek Nemesis was entertaining, and I thought Insurrection was entertaining, but I don't think they're great movies.
I hated Nemesis, but I have a newfound respect for Insurrection lately.
It was more like a TV episode. It was more like a TV episode than a movie.
Yeah. But Nemesis, I just hate. Purely. Totally hate. I mean, I just, no way. Because if you remember what they said, they made a statement that this is going to be better than the Wrath of Khan. This is the ultimate, like they threw it out there, and they were telling you, hey man, this is the movie, it kicks ass, it's better, and then it didn't, and it's like,
who were they? Who said that?
I mean, the movie company picture, they were basically promoting it like the biggest movie, better than Wrath of Khan, and it didn't happen that way.
They're always going to say that.
Well, they shouldn't say stupid shit like that. I mean, that's just like,
this is the biggest and the best.
Come on.
They did that with the Bond films too. They were saying like, this the bigger, the best Bond ever. It's like, no, not really, but it was good.
All right. Speaking about that, yes, I just got reminded. There was a lot to talk about on the Everything shows, so we have to go now. So, thank you, Mike D.
Yeah, thank you.
You have to go see Star Trek, bro.
Yeah. It's not Star Trek.
Star Trek Beyond, man. You gotta see it, man.
Yeah.
It's still not.
Do the right thing, bro.
It's still not Star Trek. Abrams stuff's still not Star Trek. I'll stand by that. It's entertaining, but it's not Star Trek.
Do the right thing, bro. Do the right thing. All right.
Just
do the right thing, man.
I'll watch it, but it feel like an Abrams movie.
You waited like you were. Oh my God, that's what gets me about you. You've been waiting for years. Wouldn't you be the first person online? Wouldn't you, like, if somebody was ahead of you in line, would you beat the crap out of that person because you was talking about, oh my God, I can't wait for years, and you didn't go see it yet? That's crazy.
I live so far away from town,
I would have walked there, for crying out loud. I mean, just go. I can't believe you, Mr. Star Trek himself, that wanted me to have all these casts, and you didn't even go see it. Go see it.
Get Scotty to beam you over there to see it.
Gotta go see it, bro. Do the right thing.
Star Trek.
Do it, man.
Yeah.
Go see it. You spoiled it. You know everything about it already.
Yeah,
so
I know.
How do you like it now?
I'm not right already, but also I gotta say, I just found out that they made a deal with Space Channel. You have the Space Channel? I don't know. There's a channel called the Space Channel. It's like, I think it's Canadian.
That's different things over here than over there. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? You know something? I can watch the Star Trek TV, the whole world, except America. You have to watch it on CBS All Access.
I know.
The rest of the world can watch it on Netflix. But Canada, they made a deal with Space Channel. They can air it on television on the Space Channel.
Well, good for you, bro. I'm still going to find a way to see it anyway, so
yeah.
Even if I have to pay for whatever.
Review the episodes whenever they come out.
Yeah. All right, we got to go. All right, I've been called, summoned. All right, take care. Bye for now.